Hi guys, so this is Mandate and we've been launching She Decides Zimbabwe. Hi, it's Mandate. I have something to say and I was hoping you'd listen. I'm sorry. Thank you and goodbye. To the younger me, I'm sorry that every time you tried to speak, I was the first one to say shush. You were just 8 years old when he violated you. You see, he wasn't just your father, not that he deserved the title, but he's the same man whose money sent you to school. The same man whose food responded to the daily needs of your stomach. The man whose clothes now covered the shameful body that you paraded in his property that you had to call home except it didn't feel like home. I'm sorry that when you came to me screaming, broken, helpless, seeking help, I was the first one to say shush. He is your father, except I didn't realize at that moment that I was building you up to be silent when you were abused. You remember that time when you're 15 years old when you had to go to your junior pastor's house where you were being taught about how to make the bed right, to clean the glasses right, to fold the clothes right, the talk you heard about being a woman in the context of being somebody's future wife. You remember how uncomfortable you were. The whole idea that a girl could be nothing but a human being that needs to grow into this prescription of wife material that a man would want to marry. You remember that time when you'd get something wrong in the house and someone would shout who's going to marry you with those slippery fingers. The days you'd bring home a top of the class report at the end of the term and they would talk about how your brains are going to bring in more cows, like somehow your intelligence and cows were synonymous. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you've always been so loud and that made me uncomfortable, that when other kids were playing with dolls, you were in the pseudo-podiums mimicking the speeches of Robert Mugabe because deep down you had this tiny conviction that politics was for you. You see, in your head, politics wasn't just about being a woman or a man, it was about service to the people, but you got it wrong. It's never been that simple. You see, you're 24 today and you've seen women slut-shamed in politics. You've seen girls and women raped and sexually harassed in politics. And I think the hardest for you has been the fact that it's not just this men, but the women too. And sometimes a bit more. You see, the sisters were supposed to stand with other women and the ones that pull them down. They laugh about the way she looks, about the way she speaks English. Actually, they look for anything to pull her down just because she's a woman. I'm sorry that every day you're wounded by the fact that society is not designed for women like you. Women that are loud, women that are outspoken. You see, to the current me, I'm sorry that even though you know your worth, you've constantly had to hold back so that you don't step on somebody's toes, that you don't want to come out too pompous. You see, you've had to hold back, be less of who you are to accommodate men that are intimidated by strong women. I'm sorry that I didn't make it clear to you that you don't owe anyone an apology for your strength. You see, I'm sorry, but then again, thank you. Thank you to the younger and current me for always finding ways to forgive myself, to allow myself to heal from things that I think or I thought I could have or should have done better. I'm grateful that when she came to you and said that I was raped, you didn't make her feel like the dress she was wearing was the reason why she was raped. You see, society is so quick to ask you, what were you wearing? What did you say? That you could have made him angry and maybe that's why he raped you. Like somehow rape is something that someone would want for themselves. You see, a lot of women are so scared to break the silence because society has made them feel like somehow maybe you made him angry so you deserved it. And sometimes you don't see how you're helping these women, but I just want to say thank you for speaking. Thank you for being loud where it's necessary. You see, when she comes to you and says, I'm pregnant or I'm terminating this baby, I'm glad it's not judgment she sees in your eyes. I'm glad that when she comes to you and says, I'm HIV positive, you don't look her in such a way that she feels like, well, I've been promiscuous, somehow I deserved it, because it's so easy when it's not you in those shoes to think you're better, but I'm glad you've always known that there's no comparison. I'm grateful that you've always been you. Thank you so much for being brave. Thank you so much for accepting change. Thank you for feeling that what feels okay today doesn't necessarily feel okay tomorrow, and that's still okay. Thank you for standing up to my fear that you will never be able to handle being a strong woman. Thank you for standing up to me when I tried to pull you down because I wasn't sure you'd handle the pressures that comes with the society that's not ready for women. You know, as I try to reconcile these versions of myself I've experienced in the past 24 years, I want to say goodbye to the constant need to justify myself. I'm done comparing myself to other women and feeling inadequate. I'm so over that life where somehow I need to constantly question whether I'm enough wife material. I'm constantly having to question if I'm dressed right so that I don't tempt a man to touch me in a way that I don't want him to. You see, I'm done with the life where I'm that woman that looks at another girl in the streets and make her feel like there's a problem with her looking prettier than me. Somehow, like, she's not supposed to look that beautiful. The woman that propagate patriarchy, pulling women down so that a man can rise. I'm so tired of that toxic life, toxic choices, toxic people, and toxic ideologies that infringe on my freedom to be a woman. A woman that's bold enough to decide for herself that only she can shape the narrative. And from all the women whose stories I've weaved into mine, thank you. I'm sorry, and goodbye.